And welcome to Maya rigging tutorial. I'm going to do just very basic overview of what we covered in class, and I will begin sort of with the assumption that all the terminology doesn't have to be described in any way because we're beyond that. So this is assuming that you understand the terms like skinning and splines and IK and FK and all that stuff. So just jump right in, and on the screen you can see we have a 8-joint chain, and it is bound to a polygon mesh. This is a cylinder, and if you go in you can see that this is just a very simple FK setup. And if I go in and I select this joint hierarchy and then I rotate it, oops, let's not do it that way, let's do it from the outliner, and our joint chain is here. By the way, if you have a joint chain and you want to get to it quickly, if you just hold down shift and click on the plus sign, it will expand all the joints. Okay, so let's start with joint 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now if I rotate, you can see that the rotation, this is a good way to check to see if your local rotation axes are aligned for each joint. If they aren't, you'll get some counter rotation. So if I have everything but the top joint selected, and then I just rotate along my object axis or gimbal, should it have the same impact because we're just rotating along one axis. You can see that it does produce the desired result. So now that we looked at the basic spine, basic joint and mesh configuration, let's look at what's involved to make a forward control rig like what you have on the screen. So now we have NURB circles that are controlling the rotation of the joints, along with a master controller that we can use for translation, as well as rotation, as well as scale, which is also important as well, because if you scale a joint, you get this weird behavior that doesn't exactly work if you want to scale attributes of a character like the entire size of a character. So you need this global control for operations like that. So I'll go back into my basic rig here and my basic forward K setup, and we'll go ahead and we'll start by making a NURB circle from our menu, and we'll scale it out a little bit. So the first thing we need to do is make a bunch of these NURB circles to correlate with any rotation that we're going to have. So we know that we're going to have a global control for the root joint, so we'll skip that one, but I will snap this to my first joint in the chain, which if I select it is joint 1. So I've got my NURB circle snapped by holding V, and then I'll just duplicate it. V in the move tool snaps to the next object up the chain, which is the joint, and then I'll duplicate it again by keying in Control D, and in the same tool move it up, Control D again, move it up, Control D again, move it up, Control D again, and that will be good. We'll have exactly 6 controllers. Now we're not done. We will want to clear out these values, and also probably a good idea right now to rename these. Okay, so if I go in and I go to modify freeze transforms, that will zero out all the controllers. So now they're nice and set in place and at the origin of the scene as well. I'm going to go ahead and select them all. I sent you guys this script. Oops. It's called Comet Rename, and if I go in Comet Rename and I source it from my scripts. Oops. There we go. And now when you execute it, you should get this panel here, which is just a great little tool to rename things quickly. So you can see I have these NURBS circles here. So I'm going to call this FK control, and I'm going to pad it at 2, and I'm going to start at 1. So if I hit rename a number, see I've got 1. Actually, that is not desired because I want 1 to be the lowest. So let's back up to here, and I will select 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it does matter the order in which you select them. Now 1 is at the bottom. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's important, the order in which you shift select things. Okay, so we can hide that. We also want to rename this. I don't like joint 1, so I'm just going to call this root joint. Okay. Alright, so now we have to deal with a global controller, which is, you could make a multi arrow tool like I did here, and you see that if I hover over it, you can see that you just clear out your script editor and start drawing points with your curve tool like I showed in class, and then once your arrow tool is all created, you can copy that into a Mel script and drop it on your shelf. So just make sure that you freeze transforms on it before you commit it to the Mel script. Otherwise, you'll have weird values. Actually, looks like I do have a weird value there. Yeah, I'm off by 1, so I have to fix that. Alright, so I can freeze transforms now, and I'm going to actually size it down a little bit, scale it down, and freeze transforms again. Okay, and we're going to call this our FK global control. That's fine. Okay, so now what we can do is, I know that I could parent constrain, but if I parent constrain to the joint, I'll show this as an example. So when you constrain, you select your constrainer and then shift select the constrainee. And I do that, I will get my joints moving, but once I do scale, I don't get an effect that I want, which is to scale it down. So undo that, and now just try to parent by regular parent, which is P. So now underneath my global control is my root joint. So I do get the movement, and I should also get the scale result. So that's key. So with our global control, it's fine to just parent that root joint underneath it. Alright, now we have to wire up these guys to our rotations. So for that, I'm going to go ahead and use the old orient constraint. And if our shelf has it set up to maintain offset, our button should work as just a one-click operation. So if I select my curve and then select the joint, and and then go to Orient Constrain and do a quick test. That looks good. And now I can just hit G and go up the chain. G is the repeat last command shortcut. So that's a fast way to do something like that that seems like it should take a long time. But now you should see every rotation is affected. But you can notice, if you notice something, this would be annoying to work with, because every time I bend one joint, the joints down the line, the forward joints, stay in the same axis. They don't rotate along with the behind joint. So what we really would like is, like, when I rotate this, to have everything above it rotating. And so we could simply fix that very easily just by parenting these curves one after the other. So in the same way the joint chain is all parented to this guy should be parented to this guy to this, or this guy to this guy, this guy to this guy, so that when I select this one, all these will be highlighted. So let's start by selecting this one and shift selecting that one and hit P, so that when I select that one, so this one, P is the shortcut for parent. This one to this one, this one to this one, this one to this one. Now, if my theory is correct, when I rotate from this joint, we should see all of them rotating in one cool leaning tower of Pisa motion. Alright, so that's great. Now, we still don't have it fixed so that the NURBS curves don't fly away, and we also don't have it so that the curves follow the root control, the master control. So this is simple. We just want to parent this to this. So now we have the master controller driving all the other controls. However, well, we do have it so that we can move controllers freely, and that is not good. Even though, you know, you do still have control over the rotation, exactly where it is, that you wouldn't want that, because an animator could accidentally, you know, move that way off the scene and go, whoa, there's no control on this guy. So we can use Maya's lock and hide functionality, which is, I don't think I showed in class at all. So if you select the controllers you want to lock and hide channels on, then you go in and you select all the channels, knowing that scale and translate will never need to be touched on these controllers for any reason. You can highlight those channels, right click. So I've got all the channels I want to lock and hide, and I can scroll down to lock and hide selected. Now you can see when I select a controller, I only had the bottom two selected. Let's try that again. Select, shift, shift, shift. Okay, so now I have the other four selected because I can see that they're highlighted here. Shift select on the channel, then Control select on the scale channel, right click, lock and hide selected. So let's go up one at a time. There we go. Okay, so you can see when I'm in the move tool, which is W, I cannot actually move the controller. It's grayed out. Same with the scale tool. The only tool I can use is rotate. And there you have it. Your tube guy is perfectly ready to animate in FK.